Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Aristocrats Soccer Podcast. I'm here with my co-host, David Harris. Dave, I hear you got in a little bit of a scuffle with a U.S. national team icon this week. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, it was a real throwdown between Landon Donovan and I. And, I think I won because I got the last word in. Maybe not. I don't know. But so the long story short version is just basically like I had, so Landon is San Diego loyal. He's the GM, manager, whatever his title is, but that's basically what he is, right? So he's responsible for signing players, and I might have mentioned on the podcast before, but I was thinking about doing, being an agent. I talked with PJ Savage, who we've mentioned before, professional agent. And, I just, was thinking about doing that, but, I put a little bit of time into it, and I think it would take a lot more time for me to do it right, with work, with family, don't have the time. So I had been reaching out to folks like Landon, others, and, mentioning some players just to see if any interest. And, just another player came along, I just wanted to follow up on what I had done. So I reached out to Landon, and then he had emailed me before and said, there's a process, contact, another person in the organization. And, I just reached out to him because it was there wasn't a lot of time, player needs to kind of make a decision, to, sign with another club, or, if San Diego were interested, they needed to kind of any other USL club would need to make him an offer. And so I just included Landon on the email for that reason only, not to harass former U.S. men's national team star person. And he responded, but he kind of scolded me a little bit. I felt scolded, maybe because I'm 46, I don't know, but he just, there's a process. You gotta email the other guy. You're not following if you want to continue working together. And it's just I'm just I was saying to you, I'm this is so silly. I reply back. I try to reply back nicely and just say this is the reason why I included you on the email. I'm not trying to and second of all, I'm not going to make much of a career for me anyway, pitching players to the San Diego Loyal and making a commission on South, So, but yeah, it was just he just, I had a couple other interactions with him, I pitched you to him, for full disclosure to everybody.
Didn't go well.
Initially, and then all of a sudden he wasn't interested. So I was okay, whatever, if you're not interested, why didn't you just tell me that in the beginning? But suffice it to say, bottom line is he just seems like for him to go out of his way to react that way, it's so different than all of the other coaches, managers in USL. I texted Paul Keegan, Paul Keegan, Doug Leash. Yeah. With Miami, and the guy texted me back we're good, thanks, no problem. He's Kenny Doug Leash's son. And Landon to go out of his way to respond that way was just so funny.
Well, yeah. Well, it's the way the game is. You have different personalities, and it is funny. What's funny to me is that if people knew your background, your medical field, you're not really involved in the game too much. You're a fan, and the cool part is you get to talk to people like John Harkes, Landon Donovan, whoever else. But cool story, little segue. But now let's get to the moment.
The bottom line was I could see why Klinsmann didn't bring him to the World Cup. He just seems to be I don't think I'd want to bring him to too many things unless.
Well, in fairness to him, he scored a lot of goals. But let's introduce the woman of the hour
because he wasn't there.
Okay. Let's introduce the woman of the hour. We don't normally do that at the beginning of our podcast. We normally cut straight to the guest. But Gina Lewandowski, no relation, I assume, to the famous Robert at Bayern Munich. Yes, I know. You play for Sky Blue in the NWSL, and you've had a very successful career over the years, playing a lot in Europe and specifically in Germany. So welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, Gina, hi. I'm sorry. We hope you don't mind. We did the little story there with Landon Donovan. Just thought it was kind of funny, and just thought we'd like to have a little bit of fun on the podcast and a little bit of banter.
That's a cool story, actually. You created some communication with him, and that's the beauty of sport, I guess.
And he also, just the last thing we'll say on it is he is officially banned from the podcast.
If he wants to come on, he's going to come on, though. Let's be honest.
You can interview him. I'm choosing not to spend any more time with Landon Donovan. I'm 46. I'm older, and I only have so many years ahead of me, and my time is valuable these days. So Landon Donovan's not getting in on it. So anyway, Gina, thank you so much. Please, tell if you can, tell us a little bit about 2020. You're the first player from Sky Blue that we've had in the podcast, so we'd like to just kind of get your perspective on the season. The year that was 2020, but from the Sky Blue perspective, kind of curious to know more about that.
Yeah, so in the off season before 2020 began, we kind of took some massive steps, kind of making the level, the professionality, the club at a higher level, and we really wanted to take strides to get to a better level in our club. And our new manager, Elise LaHue, from last year, she really took strides to turn the club around. Our owners, investing a lot of money. We made that step to the Red Bull Arena. Officially, fortunately, we didn't play at all this year, but we moved our training facility up north to the Red Bull facility. And we kind of just, we set the stage and foundation of creating a much better professional club. And, we're all excited, stoked to kind of start 2020. And, we all came in fit, ready to go. And then first week of session was great of our preseason. And then at the end of the week, we learned that we had to go into quarantine. And I think, there was a lot of uncertainty there. It kind of hit hard a little bit because we were all ready to go. We were in our flow. We had a great week of training, and then we went right into quarantine. And I think like everybody else, there was a lot of uncertainty, unknown, pandemic. What is this about? What are we going to do going forward? Are we going to even have a season? So I think for us, we kind of went week to week, day to day, just planning, trying to stay fit, stay in connection with our club, with our coaches, with our teammates. So the club, our staff, they all put together a very productive weekly sessions for us where we connected with each other as a team, with our coaches, did online sessions. We had an app that we used where we had workouts to do every day, and we had to stay fit on our own. And so we kind of got through the first 2 weeks, we were good. And then everyone's like, okay, we're going into, a longer period of the pandemic, quarantine. And so we kind of didn't really know what was going to happen. But yeah, like I said, we kind of just took it week to week from there on out, kind of went through some downs, ups and downs there. But I think we came out of the pandemic or quarantine ready to go, I think end of May, I believe. I can't remember exactly. And we went into the Bubble Like tournament in Utah. It was decided that we were going to go out there and play a tournament to kind of keep us safe and in an environment where we can play, train in a very safe environment. And props to the league. They kind of put on a great tournament, great protocols, precautions to keep us safe and play and do our jobs, what we love to do. So that was for us really great moving forward. And then we were successful in the sense of getting fourth place and not seventh place like we got last year. So we're moving forward. We were excited to kind of take that step forward. And then we went into the off season to a small break, and then into the fall series, and played 4 games in the fall series. And we ended up coming out fourth as well, 2 games away, 2 games home. So it was a great experience for us moving forward. But I think there's a lot in us that we haven't really come to fruition yet. That we've proved a lot within ourselves and with the league. But I think going into 2021, there's definitely some work to do. And more proving to do, I think, as a team in the league. So.
Yeah, I think it's so important for a team like Sky Blue that hasn't necessarily had the best results over the past few seasons. Important to have a player like you, just so much experience over in Europe, and you can kind of teach and bring along the young guys and also create a culture. But from a player's perspective, I was curious to see the Challenge Cup. It was the first kind of American sporting event that was back, and it drew a lot of attention, and it got a lot of like good reviews, good feedback from fans. There was high viewership on CBS All Access. So how do you think that tournament, albeit was very short, it was more like a World Cup versus like an actual season, how do you think that helps the league going forward, and how do you think it helped it grow?
Yeah, we were the first league, women's league, professional league overall, to come back and play after this pandemic, or after quarantine and in this pandemic. And I think we set the stage of showing the rest of the world that it can work and it's possible. And I think we were successful. No cases were involved, and I think that shows just how possible it was from a league standpoint too to put on such a tournament.
What I was just curious to see, like, what do you think now for Sky Blue? Like, what do you think the next steps are to, like, it seems like you made the strides forward, right? And now what are the next steps to get from fourth to, where you're contending for championships, amongst the top teams in the league?
Yeah, I think it's continuing to raise the standard, raise the bar, raise the level of training, of the professional environment that's for us, and getting maybe some better players on the roster. But I think we have a great foundation, great coaching staff, great organization overall as a whole that are ready to put those steps forward to get to the next level. And I think it's just building that consistency, raising that bar, raising that level at training, in games, and that consistency moving forward. Because you saw in some of the games we had periods where we played really well and then periods where we didn't. And it's how can we raise that level and play consistently well throughout the entire game. And we got to the semifinals, but we didn't play really as well as maybe we did in the previous game. So why not? Is it because we don't have that endurance, that mental endurance capability to play when it matters most, in a championship game, not a final, but in a semifinal? And yeah, it's just learning. It's a learning process, and just continuing to create that consistency and day in and day out.
Yeah. From your perspective, being that you were in Germany for so long, and then now you're back in the US, kind of on the East Coast near where you grew up in Pennsylvania, how nice is that to have kind of family close, maybe old friends? And does that help your game on the field, or are you someone that you can go away like you did in Germany for whatever 8-9 seasons and you feel perfectly at home?
Yeah, it's interesting because overseas in Germany, I didn't have necessarily the fans we had the fans, but I didn't really have the family or the friends close by to have at games and support me. But I knew they were always supporting me. And I guess I learned as a player to play no matter what is around me. Fans, no fans, family support, no family support. And I think just trying to be consistent as a player on the field, no matter what the circumstances are. And I think coming back, in 2019, I just was really excited to have that family around, just so that they can come and see me play live in the stadium for the first time in a long time, since college. So I think that was exciting for me, just to have them be there, have the ability to see me play, talk to me, see me live. And of course, in Utah, we didn't really have any fans, so it was a little different. But I think as a player, you have to learn to play no matter what, with the fans, without the fans. And it's just interesting. Each player kind of deals with it differently. Some might need that extra motivation. Some might think it's added pressure, expectations. So it all depends on the individual and how they really handle all that pressure, or you don't want to say pressure, or all that excitement around them.
What was it that led you to come back to play in the United States in 2019? And also, what was it like? What was the reaction when you got to Sky Blue and you were kind of like, oh, like, this isn't what I maybe, was hoping for. I was hoping maybe, things would be a little bit more where I wanted the club to be, where it is now. So would you maybe just take us through that if you can?
Yeah, 2019, I decided to come home just to be closer to family. I kind of had felt like I was being called to come back home. I was overseas for 12 years and, you can't play soccer forever. So I wanted to maybe make that step to come home and have a chance for my family, friends to come see me play after all these years. And I also wanted to try to build soccer in the tri-state area. This is where I'm from, Pennsylvania, and I play in New Jersey, which is only an hour away. And just to kind of see soccer grow, and I wanted to be a part of that before I retired. And I think in Germany, I was able to accomplish everything I've wanted to. I won the triple, I won the Bundesliga, I won the German Cup. And I think for me, I was able to leave that chapter kind of being fulfilled in the sense of, okay, I pretty much won or done everything that I've wanted to do over there. And so when I came back to the US, I had really tried not to have any expectation. I knew that, yes, Sky Blue was maybe not at the level that maybe they could be at or should be at for a professional team in the NWSL. But I knew that they had a vision after talking to the coaches, talking to Elise, the manager and other staff. And so I wanted to be a part of that, and I knew it'd take time to do that. And yeah, it was a little rough in the beginning, but I think I was able to adjust as best as I could and kind of take it as it came. And I tried not to have any expectations, but like I said, I knew they had a vision, and I just wanted to help them grow in any way I could.
It seems like you knew what you were getting into then, pretty much. And
I mean, they were pretty transparent with me coming in, which was great. But I told them too, for me, it's just about playing close to home. It's just coming home, being around family again, and that's most important for me. And we're not competing for number one. It's okay, but I know that there's that desire to get to that level. We have great players. We have great players, and it's just a matter of like fine tuning certain things to get the best out of your players as well. So.
Yeah. As fellow tri-staters, Dave and I hope Sky Blue kind of achieve that, what they're looking for over these next couple of seasons. I mean, it'd be great to see a team kind of in this area, in the tri-state area, on the women's side, because actually the last time with Western New York Flash, the last time you were in the US, in the WPS, you guys won the league, but then the league folded. So you'd be an interesting person to talk to in terms of like, how far has women's soccer come in the domestic leagues in the US from when you were with Western New York in 2011 to now, 9 years later in 2020?
Yeah, it's grown tremendously. It did fold that year, and then that's when I decided to go back to Germany because I just couldn't count on the league, and there was so unstable that I wasn't sure, okay, what's going to come next. And so I was kind of just watching it from afar, and I think the league as a whole, they kind of made some big changes in the league and the foundation of the league and how everything was run, financed, and they really took massive strides to create more of a long-term plan. And I think that was what was needed to have the league here survive. And you saw each year that has grown, and it's just growing even more. We're getting new teams in the league, and there's more international players coming over. So it's becoming more attractive. We're getting on TV, CBS, and we're getting bigger sponsors, which is great. And I think through the national team, it's really being pushed through them and through that team and their success. And I think, the more that we can, push the game on the women's side, the better it'll be, but it is growing. And so it's very exciting to see that after all these years, the league has continued to stay since it had folded last.
Just a quick follow-up to that. Do you have any stories kind of from that 2011 era where if you were to tell a young player now that may be complaining about some sort of facility or something they're dealing with, do you have a story where it's like, well, back then you would have no idea we did this?
Yeah. Not a specific story, but I think, yes, I've been through a lot. I've started professionally at 2007 and I went overseas, and even over in Germany, things weren't great. We went to games and stadiums, and they weren't great. And, there were sometimes rats running around in the locker room, and they weren't up to par. But, it's just about trying not to focus on what you think you should have or what you deserve, necessarily, but just for love of the game and playing. And I think kind of just doing your best in whatever environment you have. And that will eventually come. And I think we've gotten there. But a lot of the younger players, they haven't seen that. They haven't really, experienced all the maybe not so professional things that we've had in the past. And for me, I think I can appreciate it, what I have now, and just share with them, hey, you know, it hasn't always been like this, but you should be grateful for what you have no matter what. But it's hard because when you're a younger player, you don't know what to compare it to. But that's all we can really do is just share our experiences from the past. And then they kind of understand, okay, you've been through a lot, and I should appreciate more of what I have today. So
can you take us back into when, so you're coming out of Lehigh, you know, and graduating, you know, finishing college, and, you know, probably like a lot of your friends, you know, teammates, looking at careers, looking at other options. And what was it that led you to take the road to professional soccer, and then not only the road to professional soccer, but the road to Europe, to Germany, right, to play professional soccer, not even doing it here in the United States? Like, it definitely was the road less traveled.
Yeah, I don't think anybody in my class pursued a career after college. And I think, like you said, most of them just continued their education, or got a job, started a family. And I knew that I wanted to continue playing. I didn't know how, where, how to do it. So there was no professional league in the US in 2007. So the US was not an option for me to play professionally. Sure, I could play semi-pro in the lower division, which was the highest female division at the time. And then I contacted some family members that are in Frankfurt, Germany. I have family that's been over there for over 25 years, and contacted them. And I just said, hey, you know, what are the chances of me coming over and just trying out for some teams out there? And they really had no idea if that was even possible. But, you know, they gathered some information, contacted some people in the area, and then I flew out right after graduation and had 3 tryouts with different teams. One was a 3rd division team, 1 and 2 were 1st division teams. And after about a month-long tryout with Frankfurt, I ended up getting a gig with them in August or July of 2007. So, I didn't really know what to expect. I said, okay, I just want to play. I don't know what to expect. I don't think there was no Americans at that time either. So it was kind of me just kind of pursuing a God-given talent that I've had, and just wanted to kind of go out on a limb, leap of faith, and see where it take me. So.
Yeah, it's a credit to you that you would put yourself out there, especially like with everyone around you, I'm sure, saying, oh, get a job, whatever your major is, do this, do that. And you were like, no, I want to pursue this. And you've pursued it now for the last 13 years. So it's awesome to see stories like this. But for say maybe a young college player now who is kind of a good college player, similar, let's say she went to Lehigh. How would you compare kind of the setup in Germany? Obviously, the Bayern Munich's are a much higher level, but like what level would they slot into in Germany or over in Europe if it was comparable?
Like a player coming out of Lehigh, or?
Yeah, Lehigh, or some college player who wants to do something similar to what you did, and they don't know, like, am I good enough, or what level would I kind of translate to?
Yeah, so I noticed when I took that step to play pro in Germany, I just noticed that the game was a lot quicker. The technical abilities of the players were a lot better, a lot higher, and the game was just faster. So you take 1 touch, 2 touches on the ball, and you just give it up right away. Whereas in college, for me at that time, the game was a lot slower. It was more focused on athleticism, strength, and not necessarily speed and technical components. But when I got to Germany, it was about more of the technical part of the game, tactical component. And I think Americans as a whole have a little bit of an advantage over Europeans because there's this foundation of athleticism that I think Americans have naturally, because maybe we play a lot of sports when we're younger, or even through the college collegiate system, because of the lifting, the strength training that we do. We're kind of at an advantage going into maybe a European setting. It's just the technical component of the game, the speed of play, where your mind, has to think a lot quicker on the field, but that comes naturally the more you're exposed to that environment. And I think for me, it did take some time. They were happy with my athleticism, my strength, maybe my speed, but it was like the first 5 meters that I had to get quicker. It was playing quicker, faster, earlier, that kind of kind of thing. So it's definitely, I think Americans can fare well over there. It's just a matter of finding the right team that you fit in, and just adjusting to their style of play as quick as possible.
Can you maybe take us through those years in Germany where you seemed to have a lot of success with Frankfurt, and then ultimately you were there for a few good few years, and then ultimately that led you on to Bayern Munich, which is like we think of Bayern Munich, we think of like the top of the top in world soccer, and what was it like then on the women's side?
Yeah, I played for about 5 years in Frankfurt, with 1 year in between in Western New York Flash. And because the league had folded, I went back to Germany. And as a foreigner, as an American, I really wanted to get a different experience, exposure to the women's game over there, and not just through Frankfurt. And I just had this feeling, this calling to go somewhere else. And I did look at France, I did look at Sweden, I did look at other teams, but the timing didn't fit very well with the seasons. And I said, hey, well, I already know German, and I'm comfortable with the culture, the language, and their mentality too. Germans have a quite different mentality. So I had an offer from Bayern Munich, and I said, hey, why not? So I went down, I met with the coach, and I think right from the beginning, I knew that this is my next step. And I think in the beginning in 2012, when I went there, they were 6th place. So we weren't, we're in the middle of the table. We weren't really competing for a first place spot. And there was no danger of being in last place going into the second division. So we were kind of in the middle of the table, but the coach told me too, he had a vision of becoming one of the top teams in Europe and in Germany. So within 2 years, we were able to build the roster, change our environment a little bit, to make us compete at the next level higher in the table. And 2015, we won the league. We made a big change that season beforehand. We brought in maybe 8 or 9 players, not necessarily top national team players. We had a couple, but just our coach was all about the personality of the player. How well do they fit in my system, my vision? How well do I fit with them? And he was able to mold the team. So we weren't the best on paper, but we were the best on the field, and we were really a team. And it was probably one of my most memorable years, just because it was, for me, I've never been on a team that has been so team-like on and off the field. And the coach did an amazing job molding us together and creating a system that fit all of us, where every player knew their role. And so then 2015 and 16, we won the league. And then we kind of got some attention from the men's side. They said, oh, all right, you won the league 2 years in a row. I think you maybe deserve to get a little bit more money, a little bit more support, maybe a little bit more professional, tools, to use. So they built a youth academy up north in northern Munich mostly for the men's side, for the youth, the boys team. And so they decided to bring the women's program out there to kind of help grow and build the women's program, give us this, the support that the men normally have with the doctors, with the training tools. We had heated training fields. We had a top of the line gym. We had a cafeteria where we can eat top of the line food. So it was great to see that and grow with the program over those years. And for me, that's kind of why I continued to stay in Munich, because I knew that they had the capacity and the funds to support the women. It's just a matter of, okay, the women, in essence, we had to prove ourselves, which sometimes you think, okay, but you should help invest in the program first and then we can get better. But it was kind of opposite, where we had to almost prove ourselves in order to gain that respect and that attention from the men's side. And when you look at them now, they're competing at the top of the table right now, because Wolfsburg has been a team that has been dominating in the last years in Germany. So I think the women are finally at that point where they can compete for first place after all these years, and hopefully at an international level in Champions League. So it's been a great experience those 7 years in Munich, and just great memories.
This is interesting because I know, Jake, before you jump in with your question, Gina had a far more successful career at Bayern Munich than Landon Donovan ever did. So I just figured I'd throw that out there.
Oh, we're back to Landon. I
just had to get that in.
I completely forgot. Was Landon even? Did he ever play overseas? No, just kidding. He couldn't really make it overseas, could he? He only wanted to stay in the U.S. But Gina, my question to you is, well, first off, it's so cool that you, as an American, you came over and you won the league with Frankfurt, and then you come back and then go with Bayern Munich and you win the league again. You played in the Champions League final with Bayern Munich. You also, the UEFA Women's Cup, that was the Champions League final at that time, correct? With Frankfurt. Yeah, it was just a different name. So what was, over those 12 years, what was the biggest game? Was there a best memory? I know you mentioned that league title with Bayern Munich where you kind of built the culture with the coach, but is there a specific moment on the field that really sticks out and you're really proud of?
I mean, winning the treble in 2007, 2008, that season was an unbelievable experience. But I think as an American coming over my first year, I didn't really know how much people appreciated that award, I guess, in a sense, those trophies. And I was like, oh yeah, I won it. And then now I'm like, oh my gosh, I won the treble. So now I can appreciate a lot more, but I didn't realize, you're playing consistent over an entire year. You know how hard that is for a team. And I think just that pride that we had as a team, maybe I didn't necessarily feel at first, but now I do think that's an amazing accomplishment for a team in Europe or in Germany to accomplish. And I would say when we won the championship for Bayern Munich in 2015, I think that game, we went into that final game thinking, if we just win, we'll get second place. That was our goal, was to play Champions League the next year, to second place, no big deal. Like, all right, let's just win. So we went into the game, we won 2-0 against Essen, and Wolfsburg was playing Frankfurt at that time. And I can't remember who had to win. I think Wolfsburg had to win by a point, or Frankfurt or something like that. But they ended up tying. And our game ended, and we're like, all right, we're second place. And all of a sudden, maybe 3 minutes later, the announcer announces, no, we're first place. The other game ended in a tie. And I think that was for us like, oh my gosh, we just did it. I still get chills, thinking about that. But I'm watching videos, and so they had they didn't have the real trophy there because they didn't think we would win. They thought one of the other teams would win. So we had kind of like a fake trophy that they had ceremony after the game. But they still had a ceremony for us because the chances of winning were very, very slim, but still possible. So I just think that on the field was great. That entire season.
Did you have the golden boot, or not the glass boot with the beer?
Not then, but we went out and celebrated afterwards, and found a way to. The
guy when the men's team when they won the chance, they always have like that glass boot with the beer.
Yes, yeah.
I've always watched that. I just thought that was really funny.
Yeah, that was cool. We celebrated after the fact, but during that game or after that game, we just had the trophy.
What can you tell us a little bit about the support of the women's game from the fans in Germany, and what is it like? Do they get big crowds, and do you get recognized? Did you get recognized in Frankfurt, Munich? What was the experience like?
Yeah, I think in Frankfurt they definitely had a club section where they had the regular fans. They had their area like in the corner with drums and horns and everything, and it was really nice to see them come out and support us every game, even away games. Kind of similar to here. And I think for me, it was a lot more fans than I had at Lehigh, of course. So that was nice.
I hope so. I think Lehigh, but
yeah, but with the whole language thing, I sometimes didn't know what they were saying. But it was interesting because every time there was a mistake, you could hear the crowd be like, "Oh," or if you did something well, you could kind of hear their tone going up and down. And I was like, "Wow, these fans are really into it." Or if the game's kind of boring, they're not saying anything at all. So it was interesting. And then we went to Potsdam. Their fans they're cheering and blowing the horns and the drums nonstop. And then when we would score, completely silent, so it was interesting. The fans were really engaged. It was nice. And I think the US is growing in that support as well. I mean, of course, if you look at the West Coast teams like Portland, that's on a whole new level. That's just, unbelievable. But I think here at Sky Blue with Cloud9, I think they're really growing as well in the fan section. And it's been great to see that support and have that feeling of, we're not just a team on the field, but we're an organization with fans that love to support us and we want to give back to them. And just to see that camaraderie is also really, really fun.
Would they, like, I see that you scored, a few more goals at Bayern. Would they announce your name after you scored a goal like they did with, I always remember when Luca Toni was playing with Bayern, and they'd be like, Luca, and the whole crowd would be like, Luca, Toni, or something like that. It was just like really funny. And like, did they do anything like that?
Not at that level, but they did say my whole name. The announcer did say my whole name, but it wasn't like the men's side. But it was really cool being able to hear my name, and even going to the men's games. When Robert Lewandowski would score, I'd be like, "Yep, that's my name."
I know that guy.
Yeah.
What they used to do, Dave, actually was at least in Germany and in Austria, they did like eins, no, and then the crowd would go, or whatever the score was, they'd kind of go back and forth with the crowd and the PA. It's just, the German games are so cool.
Yeah.
The atmosphere's there.
Yeah. They would say Ecke, Tor. So Ecke is like a corner kick, Tor is a goal. So the fans, every time we had a corner kick, they would yell that. So you would see that, and that was actually really fun to hear every single time too.
Yeah, I think it adds such the European. I played in Ireland, and the European kind of the way the fans are, the way they interact with the game, their knowledge of the game, it just creates such a great atmosphere to play in. Whereas, I mean, the US, like you said, is growing, but it's a lot, in my perspective anyway, it's a lot of like more family oriented. So they're there to have a good time. It's like a Sunday afternoon type thing for them, but it's not like if you mess up, they're cursing at you or they're screaming their head off or they're drunk. And I mean, there's a place for both, of course, but as a player, I always enjoyed kind of the European way of supporting games.
Yeah, sure.
But anyway, so let's go back. You've made a cap with the national team. What was that experience like, and how close do you think you were to being kind of someone who is with the national team regularly, or was it just that the one cap that you made was just such a great experience and it's something that you'll look back on forever?
I would say 2014-15 was the year we won the league in Germany with Bayern Munich, and I'd say 2015 was probably personally my best year ever. Just from being on the field and being able to give to my team and maybe score some of the most important goals, I guess, in that season, and even going into the next year too. And when I got that call up, it was for me like, wow, this is a great opportunity just to see what it's like to play at that next level, to maybe showcase my own abilities. I had gotten invitations previous years, but because of the FIFA dates and my contract obligations, I wasn't able to leave Germany and come in. And then I had gotten injured twice. So yeah, it was kind of a long time coming in the sense of like, oh, I hope it actually happens. But then I kind of thought, okay, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, doesn't. And then finally 2015, they contacted me and asked, hey, we'd love to have you come in. And they were looking at maybe 8 or 9 new players, and it was in the middle of my season, so I knew that I had to go back to Germany as well. So it was just going to be a short week, and just to kind of get some exposure and just to see what it's like to train at the top level of the US and I think of the world, and having the resources, the best resources ever to train and to prepare yourself to play at that top level. And for me, it was just a great experience to be there that week. And I got in 15-20 minutes in the game against Brazil, and so that was fun. I think we won 1-0, but yeah, it was pure highlight, I think, of any player's career, of my career. And then I got called back in 2016 in the summer during my break, and I think as an American living overseas and playing, you have to make a decision, really. If you want to have that full 100% opportunity, it could be small, but opportunity to play for the national team, you might have to make that choice to come back and play in the U.S. League to get that exposure day in, day out with these players where the coaches can see you play against your teammates and against, your opponents. And so me playing overseas, I had that opportunity to come and be in camp, but I think at the end of the day, I really had to decide, okay, if I want to really have that chance to play national team, I do have to make that move back home. And I did. I wanted to stay in Europe. I just felt that was my calling, where I wanted to be. I was really enjoying my progress with the club in Munich and their progress as a women's program, and I just wanted to be a part of it. But I really enjoyed the opportunity to play at the national level. I think that's any girl's dream when they're younger to do. And even if it's one cap, it was great, 20 minutes. But 3 times to train with the best of the best in that environment was definitely, an experience that I'll never forget.
Can you touch on during the time in Germany, just any really cool stories or experiences? Obviously, you share the same name with Robert Lewandowski. Got to meet him, and did people mistake you for being a relative? And but beyond just that, just some of the cool stories and experiences of your time in Germany. And there must be so many.
Yeah, I mean, it's an endless, it's endless, the stories that I can tell. But I had a lot of people reach out asking if I was a sister, wife, cousin, with the last name. But yeah, eventually they figured, okay, she's no relation. But we did do an interview together where we exchanged jerseys back in 2015 when I came back to the national team, and we did go through where our families had come from. And I think my family came from about an hour north of his. So, I don't know, there might be some long distance relation, but not really sure. We did like an ancestry.com thing, but I think for me,
hold on. I'm picturing you and Robert just sitting on your phones or whatever, doing ancestry.com together, trying to figure out if you're cousins or whatever.
Yeah, my dad got into it, and he said, we traced him all the way back to this city in northern Poland, and then when we did that interview together, it was like, yeah, my family's from here, his family's from here, so it was only an hour away. So it was really neat to kind of see and talk about. Though I've never been to Poland, can't speak Polish. It was actually on my list to do this year, my bucket list, but unfortunately it hasn't really worked out. So we'll see. Maybe for the next few years I'll be able to get out there. But playing in Europe, I was able, in Champions League, I was able to travel a lot, go all the way to Russia, Qatar, down to Italy, Croatia, Slovenia. So I did a lot of up north Scandinavian countries too. So yeah, it's just definitely a great experience to be able to travel, learn different cultures, mentalities. And on my team in Munich, we were probably the most international team in the league. We had almost like 60-70% internationals on that team at the time too, which was really cool.
Yeah. You played with Amber Brooks, right? At one point, because she was a guest on our podcast. She actually, well, you'll be released after her, but her episode hasn't been released yet. So yeah, they had that American connection there. But when you look back on your time in Germany and in Europe and maybe not coming back to the US, when maybe that would have been a better option for you internationally, I don't think you have any regrets just from the way you're speaking. But is there something along your path that you'd maybe share some insight with the young player that is going on a similar journey, like something you may have changed along the way?
I think at the beginning, I put a lot of, pressure on myself. I was very critical of myself, trying to perform 100% every single day. And, then I think I kind of restricted myself mentally to play well, because I was so worried about making mistakes. I wasn't free to play. And I think being in that environment, I was just always like nervous and scared. And I think too, now I look back at it, I just would say, just to relax, enjoy the game, enjoy the progress, the process and the journey. And I think we're all gonna, you'll eventually get there. And I think just enjoying the game, enjoying each day you're able to step out in the field and not be too upset when, you know, you make mistakes or your journey doesn't go in the specific direction you want to, but it'll go in the way it's supposed to. And that's how it was for me. And even just through my collegiate career too, you know, I always thought, oh, what if I went to a better college? Would I have been able to play on the national team? But, you know, I don't regret that either, because my journey at Lehigh led me to Europe, and I'm grateful for that. And my journey in Europe, you know, was a great experience that not many people have been able to experience. And I think I'm just enjoying that. And I've grown as a person as well off the field, and met so many amazing people, have long lasting friendships with them till today, you know, and hopefully Germany will always be a part, you know, of my life in the future. Hopefully with the pandemic, it'll allow me to travel over there soon. But I think just trusting in the process and just trying to stay relaxed and just enjoy the game. I think without enjoyment, you can't really ever get to that next level, that passion.
Were there any, like, just trying to think of like any really cool experiences you got to do as being, you know, a member of the Bayern Munich, you know, women's team? Like, you've touched on some of them already, but like, I'm thinking like, you know, maybe, you know, besides meeting Robert Lewandowski, like, you know, meeting any of the like top players or people you were interested in meeting, or maybe going to like a FIFA or UEFA type event, or just some things that like a normal player, let alone a normal person, wouldn't be able to get to do.
Because we were on the women's side of the club, we were able to get free tickets to all the home games. So we were able to get to all the Bundesliga games or the German Cup games or even the Champions League games. And I think that was for us a great experience to kind of sit second row and see some of the top players in the world right there in Munich. And we did have sometimes some free passes into the VIP room where we got to, you know, meet some of the players and whatnot. But we got free lunch every day, and we were able to sit at the facility and actually look outside and watch them train every day during lunchtime. And I think that for me was just really cool, because I'd end up spending maybe an hour at lunch, hour and a half, just eating and watching them play. At one point we had like a limit on how long we were able to stay, but in the beginning I was like, I'm just gonna, you know, stretch this out and just watch them train, because I had the ability to do that. And I lived right down the street from the facility too, so I was able to just go over there and sit and watch them as well. So I mean, just watching soccer kind of grows your game as well. And yeah, I definitely had some great experiences too. And when we won the league in the second time, 2016, we were able to go out onto the balcony with the men's team and kind of celebrate with all the fans in Munich. So I did go out arm in arm with Robert Lewandowski and pull the trophy up there. And then in the evening, we went to this we went to this indoor party where the men had invited us, and we were able to celebrate together. There was a dance floor, there was a DJ, you know, top world-class food, 5-star, you know, menu that we had. So we were able to, you know, sit with them and eat. We didn't really like intermingle because they had their families there as well, but it was just great to be, you know, the table over there is Robert and his family, you know. So, and I could go up to him and I danced on the dance floor with Thomas Muller, you know, so it was just fun. I mean, we had to be careful because you don't really go up to them and talk to them because they're just like celebrities, but we just, you know, would get close to them, maybe try to take a picture. But there were some players that I did get to know. There was a Bible study, like a Sportlers athlete Bible study that some of the men's players were in, and I was a part of too, and another girl on my team, and like David Alaba or Rafinha, you know, I was able to go to his house and he would play, you know, his music, and so it was neat to kind of be a part of that and feel like you're included on that level as well. So
yeah, it's so cool to see, like, these guys are massive global celebrities, and they're including you in all these events, and you get to know them, and sometimes I think people with some of the kind of the U.S. women's national team like pay stuff, I think they think it's like a men's versus women thing. In reality, it's not. Like, men's players love supporting women's players love supporting men's players, and there's definitely a mutual respect there, and it's even more impressive to see it kind of on that scale at a Bayern Munich where the men are just, they're rock stars. But what was Muller like? He's a character.
Yeah.
What was he like?
I think he's a fan favorite over there.
Oh, he is. Yeah.
Super.
Is he good? Is he a good dancer?
Yeah, I mean, he's a little awkward, like all Germans are. but no, he's fun, and he gets the crowd going. I mean, that's most important. He engages the fans, he engages the audience, and yeah, he's very Bayerish, like very Bavarian, and it's just neat to see that it's more than soccer for him. You know, he really tries to include either the women or the fans into the game, and just kind of he jokes around a lot, and he's fun, and I think that's cool because he says too, you know, you have to enjoy it, you have to have fun, and if you're not having fun, you know, it's maybe not the space for you, but you know, this is our job, and we want to enjoy it and as long as possible. And I think he's my age or a little younger, but yeah, I mean, he's had a rough path too, but yeah, just to see how he deals with his journey at his level, it has been inspiring as well too.
Yeah. Soccer gave you this, you know, amazing opportunity now to live abroad in Germany for so many years. And, you know, what are some of the things now that you've been back here in the US? What are some of the things you miss about, you know, being there, living there? You know, anything stick out in particular?
In Munich, I lived close to the city, so public transportation was very easy for me. I could get into the city in 5 minutes and, you know, just jump on a tram or onto the U-Bahn, you know, the train system. And I don't know, just how close knit everything was in the city. You can walk really anywhere, get what you need. The grocery store is right around the corner. Just the beauty of the landscape, the nature. I think it was also a city that was very friendly, environmentally friendly, very clean. You can get to Austria in an hour, you can get to Switzerland in 2 hours, you can get to France in 4 hours. And I think everything was just so close. And the food was great. I really enjoyed the food. They have coffee and cake, you know, 3:00 every day. So I really enjoyed those delicacies. And but yeah, I think just my family over there. I have an aunt and uncle, and then I have two older couple, like an older couple that have become my adopted grandparents. So, and some cousins over there. So, yeah, I definitely, and their mentality is a little different than Americans too. They're a little more direct and blunt and to the point. So I can appreciate that on one side. It was hard to adjust to as an American, especially playing, because they would tell you you're not doing well or what you're doing wrong. And they'd say you just need to be better. And so I'd appreciate that honesty and that directness. But it's definitely something you kind of have to get used to. But I love the traditions over there. The buildings too, you know, the history that they have is just phenomenal. And I've learned a lot too as well.
So I believe you that you miss all those things, but I think you miss Oktoberfest the most.
Yes, I do have a dirndl. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, those little dresses they're very flattering on women for sure. How many times did you go in your time there?
I went pretty much every year when family and friends came by. Unfortunately, it was during a time when we had a lot of games. So I had to pick and choose my days when I would go, whether it was in the morning just to show some family or friends out in the area, or if it was after a game, we would go, you know, with some teammates. But we did go as a team. We won. It was a German Cup. It was in 2012, and we won at penalty kicks against Frankfurt, because I just came from Frankfurt, went to Munich, and then first round of the German Cup. It was in September, and we went in penalty kicks, and I shot the fifth one, made it, and we won. So it was 5-4, and then we went crazy. I mean, we weren't expected to win because Frankfurt was number one, and then our manager comes over, gives it to our team manager, and she just gives her a wad of cash of euros, and it's like, here, go celebrate. So we went to Oktoberfest. They got us to the table like last minute, and we all had dresses, dirndls, or later
dirndls, yeah.
So yeah, I mean, that was a great experience too, and but just a lot of tradition, and I think that's just a great experience for anybody to have when you go over there, or even locally they're doing some Oktoberfest. Obviously, when the pandemic.
Yeah. The funniest part about Oktoberfest that people don't really realize is it's not even really in October. It's right. like late September, and sometimes it goes into October. I've never kind of understood that, but it's a little interesting. So I guess my question now, you've had a tremendous career, a long career. Longevity is something that I really admire in players. So like, what are the next few years look like for you? And what is like after playing, what are you thinking about?
Yeah, I think for me right now, I just go year to year, kind of just see how I'm feeling physically, mentally, emotionally too with the game. And I think there's still a lot to accomplish at Sky Blue. I think we're on the up, and I'd love to see, what this next year brings for the club and for these players, and just being close to home and actually hopefully having a regular season. But I was able to do my B license, my UFA B license in Germany about 2 years ago. So I do have my license. Hoping to get my B license here in the States because it's a different program or different system. And I would love to do some coaching in the future. I do some things on the side through different organizations here and there. So trying to get my foot in the door in that aspect. But coaching is definitely something I'd love to do. I'm not sure what capacity or what level, but that's something I have on my radar. And I did biology at Lehigh. I don't know if I'd do anything with that, but I'd probably do more of like the nutrition side of biology. So going forward, but we'll see. I'm not really sure.
If you want to take things full circle, you can go back and coach Lehigh. I'd really bring it back around.
Yes. One of my best friends is the assistant coach there, and we talk about it regularly about, potential future gigs together. So we'll see.
Do you get any young players, like, college players, any young women asking you about what they can do to get into opportunities to go play in Europe? And what did you do? Like your experiences, that kind of thing. Do you get that often, or do you think, like, if there was a little bit more awareness in the college system for players about how to get to Europe, like they might actually more of them would consider doing that? Do you think that, like, there's something there for you there where, maybe players could reach out to you, like good talented players that, just kind of like the door isn't open to them in their mind because they're thinking career and, just get a job kind of thing?
Right. Yeah. I think, especially when I was in college, I didn't even know that opportunity existed to go overseas. It wasn't until my college assistant coach, she played in Iceland, and she kind of put that idea in my head. And I think I've been able to talk to younger kids, maybe high school kids, younger club teams about my experiences, and they have asked, what is the process like? Can you help me? And I have been able to. I had an agent over in Germany who is a resource for me, and also I could be a resource for them. And there's always ways. I mean, if there's a will, there's a way. And I think more and more Americans are considering the idea and even going for it, especially because of how the league was in the past, as far as only going from March to October, March, November. And now the season's going to be going a bit longer. But I think for those who might not have been able to get into the US league, have been looking overseas or just going right from college to overseas. So it's growing more and more, but being able to share my experiences or help younger players to kind of reach those opportunities or show more of the process. Yeah, I'm definitely open to that. And just sharing, the benefits of playing overseas. It's not for everybody. It's definitely hard, but I mean, you can grow so much as a player and as a person. And I think anybody should do it if they have the opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't agree more. Well, thank you so much for your time. It's been awesome catching up with you, learning about your career. You've definitely taken the road less traveled in terms of women's soccer. At least it's more common on the men's side, but I think it's something that's becoming more prevalent now, especially with girls over in England, national team girls. So I think it's something that a lot of, like David saying, a lot of young players should and could reach out to you. It'd be a great resource for them. But thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you, Gina. And where can fans, like, where can people follow you if they want to keep up with you, what you're doing with Sky?
Yeah. I have my Instagram account, Twitter. I do have a Facebook fan page. I know Facebook isn't as prevalent as maybe Instagram or Twitter, but Yeah, those are probably the best ways. Shooting me a DM, any questions, we'll be happy and very open to share more or point girls in the right direction.
And of course, Sky Blue as well. Hopefully,
Yes.
big 2021 ahead of you there.
Yes.
Of course.
Watch out for Sky Blue in 2021.
But thanks so much again for joining us. Really.
Gina, actually, one last question before we do our sign off. Are you in any of the TikToks with Robert? He's big on TikTok, so
yeah,
you didn't
get into that, but
you didn't get into the TikTok with him. Okay, well, in my friend group we make fun of him a lot. He's a lethal goal scorer, and then he's dancing on TikTok like crazy person. But he's yeah. But thank you again so much.
Yeah.
And until next time, Dave. I'm the athlete.
I'm the advocate.
We are the Aristocrats.